Welcome to Twists of Life, where every story has an unexpected turn. Stories of joy and sorrow, hope and redemption, just like the life we all live. Make yourself comfortable. It's time to begin. Catherine froze, her gaze fixed on the whimsical curves of the pattern winding across the wallpaper. The wall clock measured out a slow tick-tock, as if indifferently counting the moments of a life that raced forward, asking no permission from such insignificant figures as 40-year-old housewife Catherine Simon. This life roared with the sound of cars on the highway, rustled in the crowns of trees, overflowed with the shouts of children in the yard, whined with the neighbor's dog, and clattered with dishes in the kitchen of apartment number 104. But inside Catherine, there was absolute silence and emptiness. No thoughts, no feelings. It seemed even her blood had stopped in her veins. "Mom, are you okay?" Her daughter Valerie broke the silence. "Oh!" Catherine flinched as if struck. "Honey, are you home already? I didn't hear you come in at all." "Yes, just now. Were you at the hospital?" Valerie's voice trembled. "Dr. Michael Harrison said there's nothing left to hope for. The metastases have started growing actively. It's unlikely Dad will regain consciousness, unless it's from unbearable pain. I don't know what to do, honey. Dr. Michael Harrison hinted today that it's time to think about turning off the life support machines." "You mean, what? There's no chance at all?" Tears welled up in Valerie's eyes. "But that can't be, Mom. Medicine is so advanced now. They literally pull people back from the brink." "Valerie," Catherine hugged her daughter, "the doctors say we shouldn't wait for a miracle. When they turn Dad off, he might wake up, but I'm so afraid he'll suffer from this hellish pain, and no one knows how long he can bear it. The painkillers don't help anymore, not even the strongest ones." "Mom, why is it like this?" Valerie sobbed. "Why Dad? He was always so strong. He played sports. He didn't even smoke. Can cancer really appear so suddenly and destroy a person in a couple of months? Everywhere they write that cancer's curable now. Why isn't it like that for us?" "I don't know, my sunshine. I never thought I'd have to go through something like this. When Victor first went to the doctors, everything didn't look so bad. The prognoses were very promising. But then everything started developing so rapidly. No one expected it, despite the chosen therapy. One organ after another failed. I can't explain anything to you because even the doctors don't understand. They did everything possible, and Dad was so determined to fight. It's as if someone cursed us." "Don't say that," Valerie grew wary. "Do you believe in that?" "I don't know what to believe anymore. I even thought about going to a psychic. Mom is urging me. She found some man, says he can help. And I'll tell you a secret. I've already arranged a meeting." "Are you serious, Mom? I understand you're desperate, but I think it's all a scam." "Honey, I'm grasping at any straw right now. Don't even think about going to him. He'll just fleece you. You're smart. You know they profit from other people's grief and gullibility." "I'll just go, honey. If he starts extorting money, I'll just leave." "But Grandma has completely lost it. It's fine for her. She believes in all that. It's forgivable for her. But you're an engineer. You have a higher technical education. How can you even consider such a thing?" "There's a lot we don't know about life, Valerie. For example, you're only 11, but you reason like an adult. Why is that? You and Dad should be thanked for that. You taught me from childhood. And besides, kids grow up fast now. There's no mysticism here. But with charlatans, that's stupid and dangerous. It's better to look for other doctors. Maybe ours are just—" Valerie looked at her mother very seriously. "Honey, Victor is in the best oncology clinic. World-class specialists work here. It's unlikely there's anyone more competent." Now that's a sensible thought. I don't understand. If you realize all this, how could you possibly give in to Grandma's persuasion and decide to go to some sorcerer? All right, let's change the subject. It's unbearable for me to discuss this. Okay, but promise you won't pay this man. I promise, Catherine smiled weakly. Listen, I haven't cooked anything today. Maybe we should order something? Mom, money is tight right now. Let me make something myself, Valerie smiled. You should rest. Yes, you're my good girl, Catherine hugged her daughter tightly. Just don't overdo it. I don't have an appetite anyway. By the way, there were dumplings in the freezer. We can boil those. Dumplings will ruin our stomachs. We just ate them yesterday. What? They're perfectly healthy food, dough and meat. That's when you make them yourself, Valerie objected. With store-bought ones, you don't know what's mixed in. No way. I'll cook something normal. I'll at least fry some potatoes. There's still some chicken. Okay, honey. All right. I'll lie down for a bit. Catherine lay down on the sofa. She felt ashamed that her daughter had to fuss in the kitchen, but at the same time, she was happy to see how independent and sensitive she was growing up to be. Early that morning, without saying anything to her daughter, Catherine drove to meet the psychic. At work, she warned them she would be late, lying that she was going to the hospital to see her husband. Her colleagues sincerely sympathized with her. Catherine had always been well liked in the team, and it pained them to see her grief. Contrary to expectations, the sorcerer didn't live in a dilapidated mansion, but in an ordinary apartment in a residential area. Catherine dialed the number on the intercom, and almost immediately, an inviting beep sounded. She took the elevator up to the 8th floor. On the landing, a man of indeterminate age in a coffee-colored tracksuit was already waiting for her. He looked quite attractive, and didn't at all match Catherine's ideas of magicians in black cloaks. Hello, Catherine, the man smiled pleasantly. My name is Arthur. Nice to meet you. Please, come in. He let Catherine into a spacious, bright apartment. No bundles of herbs, no chicken feed in jars. Just an ordinary, modern, comfortable home. I see your surprise, Arthur smiled. Were you expecting to see the dwelling of a medieval alchemist? To be honest, yes, Catherine smiled sheepishly. I'll tell you right away. I'm skeptical. I'm a civil engineer. I don't much believe in all this. And you don't need to believe here. To each their own. Higher powers have gifted me with the ability to see what is inaccessible to many. They have gifted you with the talent to design buildings, which I cannot do. Logical? So you won't be looking into a crystal ball? God forbid, my dear. That's for charlatans. I work with energy, not witchcraft. You believe in energy, don't you? In energy? Catherine frowned. Well, yes. Electromagnetic, kinetic, potential. Of course, the laws of physics are known from school. Exactly. But modern physics has studied only a small part of the universe, and energy is not limited to known types. For example, what do you think a soul is? A soul? Catherine pondered. Well, they say it's what makes us human. They say correctly. But what do you think yourself? I'm not asking about the religious aspect. A soul is some kind of driving force within us, Catherine began. Ah, I see what you're getting at. So a soul is also energy? How else? We don't see it, but we feel it, like any other energy. And our thoughts are also energy. Yes, the human body is subject to the laws of physics, chemistry, biology, but at the core of all this is energy. Have you heard of the aura, the energy shell? Everyone has one. Enough research has been conducted that registers the biofield and can even influence it. There are simply people, myself among them, who can control this. I've been practicing for over 30 years. Once, I was just as skeptical, believed in nothing but physics. I worked at a nuclear power plant, by the way. And after 40, something happened that changed my world forever. Forgive my immodesty, Catherine interrupted. How old are you? 75, Arthur smiled. That can't be, Catherine gasped. You look about 40. Yes, I know. It just so happened that I became fixed in this form when everything happened. I was 43. When we had an emergency at the reactor, there was almost no chance to fix anything. No one wanted a repeat of Chernobyl. Time seemed to compress. Everything happened in a couple of seconds. I suddenly did something that I still can't quite explain, and even less so back then. What was it? Catherine froze. I thought, or rather, first I imagined the explosion, the consequences, the scale of the disaster. It played out like a movie before my eyes. And then I rewound everything and was able to return to the moment when the mistake was made. An inexperienced shift supervisor had started working. We were on the night shift. He fell asleep and missed the beginning of the reactor overheating. And so it happened that I rewound everything, found myself in the moment when this guy had just closed his eyes. I don't know how I figured it out so quickly, but I understood that the future depended on me now. I ran to the control room, and the kid was just falling asleep. I looked at the instruments. The readings were creeping up. I shook him awake. We reacted quickly, called the right people, and prevented everything. So you mean you traveled back in time? No, alas, that's impossible. Something else happened. It was as if I fell into a prolonged déjà vu. I foresaw all the events. And this happened when I fell asleep. It was a difficult day. I violated instructions. I confess. If I had truly fallen asleep then, the disaster would have happened. More precisely, I did fall asleep, but at that very moment, I had a vision that allowed everyone to be saved. I understand it sounds incredible, especially since you won't find information about this incident anywhere, because in fact, nothing happened. But since then, I began to eagerly absorb information that could explain my sudden abilities. Strange things started happening. I began to see many things ahead, not just in dreams. These were sharp shifts in consciousness. I was scared. I didn't know what to do. Then I found a person who explained everything. There's no point in delving into details, you still wouldn't believe it. But since then, I've dedicated my life to this. I lived in India for a long time, studying energy practices. My physics education hindered me at first, but then I started connecting the known with what I was yet to learn. And now I can look into the future and the past. Don't think of me as a magician. There's a lot I can't influence. But thanks to the gift, I can help people. The main thing I understood is that our universe is governed by the laws of energy. And if you tune into the right frequency, a lot opens up. I'm not omniscient. I'm like a transmitter. I just pick up signals from the information field and transmit them. Let's say I believe you, Catherine frowned skeptically, although it's still beyond my understanding. My mother recommended you to me. I'm in a very difficult situation. I don't know what to do or what to expect. Tell me. Don't be afraid. It will stay between us. If I can help, I definitely will. Only... Arthur smiled sadly and nodded questioningly. My daughter let me come on the condition that I wouldn't pay anything. You understand? There are many swindlers, and they all want to profit. We are in a very difficult position right now, and... Catherine. Arthur placed his hand on her shoulder, and Catherine immediately felt relief. I don't charge for my services. Any compensation is solely your desire. I believe that the gift given to me belongs to everyone. If I charged a fee, I'd be living in a mansion now, not in this standard two-bedroom apartment. Perhaps it's not rational, but I've made this decision and won't change it. But how do you live then? On what? I write term papers for students, Arthur laughed. You wouldn't believe it. The income is decent, and I have to use my education somehow. Well, Catherine drew out. All right, let's try. In short, 6 months ago, my husband Victor suddenly fell ill. Everything happened very quickly. I was at home. He just lost consciousness, felt dizzy. Victor is young. He was always very healthy. Imagine how scared I was. I called an ambulance. He didn't regain consciousness. They took him away. And they're liver cancer. And Victor doesn't drink. Nothing like that. And it's almost never found in the early stages. Everything was going well. The doctors immediately took care of him. The tests were promising. They promised that it's treatable now. For almost 6 months there was improvement. But then Victor suddenly got worse. He was urgently hospitalized. After examination, the metastases had spread actively, affecting neighboring organs. Neither chemo nor radiation helped. Now Victor is almost never conscious. They give him a lot of painkillers. They put him in an artificial coma. He's on a ventilator, some other machines. I don't understand anything anymore. I only see my beloved husband. But I can't. I can't. Catherine started crying. We have a daughter, Valerie. She loves him dearly. It's harder for her than for me. I can't imagine what it will be like without Victor. So, as I understand it, official medicine cannot explain such rapid progression. Arthur frowned. Show me a photo of your husband. Catherine opened a photo on her phone and held it out. Arthur looked at it for a long time, then closed his eyes and fell silent for a few minutes. Catherine didn't dare to ask. It was clear he had entered a trance. Finally, he opened his eyes and exhaled loudly. Only then did Catherine realize he hadn't been breathing the whole time. At least 10 minutes had passed. Well? She asked impatiently. I'll be direct. There's no hope of saving Victor, but, Catherine repeated. Nothing can be changed here. The thing is, your husband was subjected to external influence. That's what caused the illness. When he started getting better, the influence was repeated, and much stronger. And then the illness began to progress rapidly. What do you mean? Catherine's eyes widened. What influence? A hex? A curse? Many call it that, but I prefer to call it influence. But who? Who could decide on such a thing? Victor had good relationships with everyone. He had no enemies. I will describe this person to you, Arthur nodded. Or rather, 2 people. The first is a woman around 40, ash blonde, quite plump and short. Long nails with bright polish, many rings, always wears glasses. She thinks only about money. She's already gone through a divorce because of it. But she doesn't calm down. She's in Victor's closest circle and exerted physical influence. The harm was inflicted through liquid. The second person is a young man, brown-haired, thin, slightly stooped, a scar near his lip on his face. Very pliable and easily led under this woman's influence. Also close to Victor. He practices some rituals. He has powerful but completely negative energy. Roughly speaking, the woman is using him to destroy Victor. And the most terrible thing is that they are most likely relatives. Yes, Catherine turned pale. You just described Victor's older sister, Eleanor, and his stepbrother, Walter. My God, how did you see this? Is it all true? But why? Why would they ruin their own brother? Greed? Victor always helped them with money, especially after Eleanor's divorce. She was left with nothing then. Her husband sued for the property. Eleanor seems nice, but she can't treat Victor like this. He essentially supported her. And Walter, he always adored Victor. Walter is under Eleanor's influence. It's as if she's zombifying him. I see some kind of film over his mind. He doesn't understand why he's doing this. If you had come to me earlier, it could have been removed. But now? Maybe we can still try? Catherine whispered. For some reason, she believed Arthur. I can perform a cleansing, but it will only alleviate Victor's suffering and give him a maximum of a couple of weeks. The influence is very strong and already at a stage where it's impossible to get rid of it. It's one thing when only the soul, the energy, is affected, another when the body is almost destroyed. I agree to anything. I want Victor to at least regain consciousness and suffer less. I can't let him go without saying goodbye. All right, Arthur nodded. I'll do everything possible, but be prepared for the worst. I don't see a favorable outcome. What do you need from me? I need direct contact with your husband. Can that be arranged? Yes, you can visit him today. I'll introduce you as a relative. He's alone in the room. No one will bother us. We can go right now. I don't want to waste time. We have very little of it. Yes, of course. I'll change then. Arthur left, leaving Catherine alone with her thoughts. She couldn't believe it could be true. Why? She fumed to herself. Victor did everything for them. What good would his death do them? I always suspected Eleanor wasn't clean, but to this extent. And they smile sweetly. They don't hesitate to ask for help. Are these even people? Relatives? After their parents died, Victor looked after Walter like his own, paid for his university. The stepmother barely let the sons see each other, and as soon as her life started falling apart, she came running. I don't understand, God. Why didn't Mom tell me to come to this man earlier? Although who am I kidding? I would have laughed at her. Lord, give me strength. All right, I'm ready. Arthur returned, dressed in a summer suit, looking very presentable. The doctors won't mistake me for a sorcerer, will they? Or they'll put us both in the hospital. No, not at all, Catherine replied. Don't worry. When I come, no one enters the room. They don't bother us. Excellent, the psychic nodded. Then let's go. The bright July sun streamed through the blinds. Catherine looked at her husband, tangled in tubes and IVs, and shuddered. The man she had lived with for so many years. Instead of a living face, something pale gray, with huge dark circles under his eyelids. Victor had lost a lot of weight, his cheekbones covered with thin, almost transparent skin. Catherine cautiously took his hand. His fingers were dry and cool, as if no life remained in them. Arthur stood modestly near the entrance, hesitant to interrupt the couple's moment of farewell. In his hands, he held a small leather bag. Arthur, come here, Catherine called him. The man sat down on a chair. Here, and Victor has been in this state for almost a month. May I? Arthur looked at her questioningly. Catherine nodded. Arthur gently took Victor's hand. He sat with his eyes closed for a couple of minutes, then abruptly stood up and reached for his bag. After rummaging, he took out a small bag of salt and a black candle. All right, now I'll ask you to step out, Catherine. No one can be nearby. If anyone tries to enter within 15 minutes, distract them. I will now take a sample of Victor's energy onto this salt using the candle. I'll do the main work at home, but I couldn't do it without personal contact. Understood. The woman nodded and slipped out the door. Catherine sat on the small sofa in the hallway. No staff were visible. The minutes dragged on agonizingly. Suddenly, a nurse darted out from around the corner, heading towards Victor's room. Catherine grew anxious. Oh, you can't go there, she squeaked, blocking the way. Why ever not? The nurse, holding an IV bag, was taken aback. I need to administer medication to your husband. It's time. You see, Catherine stammered. His uncle from Vladivostok came especially by train. Can you imagine? They haven't seen each other in 10 years, so he came to say goodbye. I even stepped out, left them alone. I don't want to intrude. His uncle is very worried. They used to be close. Just for 10 minutes. Okay, he'll be out soon. 10 minutes? The nurse looked at her watch. All right, just don't tell Dr. Michael Harrison, or he'll scold me. We still have some time. Let your uncle spend some quiet time with his nephew. I'll come back in exactly 10 minutes, okay? Okay, Catherine nodded. When the nurse entered the next room, Catherine breathed a sigh of relief. The last thing she needed was for the staff to see a wife, desperate, bringing all sorts of sorcerers to the hospital. Arthur peeked out of the room. Catherine, I'm finished. I'll continue at home. Thank you, Catherine smiled weakly. At that moment, the nurse reappeared. Well, did his uncle have a chat? She winked. Now let me get to work. Arthur and Catherine left the hospital. They said goodbye, and Catherine went to work. The rest of the day passed in gloomy reflection. Work wasn't going well, and her boss delicately sent her home. On Saturday afternoon, Catherine jumped at the sound of her phone ringing. The sound was so sharp and alarming that she immediately felt anxious. Hello? She answered, her voice trembling. Catherine Simon, good afternoon. The voice belonged to Dr. Michael Harrison. Can you come now? Yes, of course. Has something happened? Her anxiety grew. Yes, but don't worry. Victor has regained consciousness. We are now disconnecting the equipment. My God! Yes, of course, I'll be right there. Catherine began to frantically get ready. The chances of Victor waking up were almost zero. The explanation for what happened was Arthur's cleansing. Valerie! She shouted to her daughter. Get ready quickly. Dad has woken up. Really? Valerie froze in the doorway, her mouth open. Honey, what are you standing there for? Faster! Yes, Mommy, of course, I'm ready. I won't even change. 25 minutes later, they were both in the hospital lobby. The elevator stubbornly refused to come to the first floor, shuttling somewhere between the third and sixth. What is it? Catherine exclaimed indignantly. One isn't working, the other is busy. Let's take the stairs. She grabbed Valerie's hand and pulled her up the flights. Dr. Michael Harrison was waiting for them outside Victor's room. Hello, ladies, he smiled softly. All right now. No panic and no excessive emotions. Victor has woken up, but he is very weak. The nurse gave him a painkiller injection. Surprisingly, he said he doesn't feel anything. Thank you, Dr. Michael Harrison, Catherine was crying. Mom, what's wrong? Valerie stroked her hand. Does this mean everything is okay? Don't rush things, the doctor interrupted. We can't explain how this happened, but the condition is still very serious. Catherine and Valerie entered the room. At first glance, nothing had changed. But Catherine noticed that there were almost no tubes on her husband's face. Victor was breathing on his own. Hearing footsteps, he opened his eyes and, after focusing, smiled weakly. The smile was eerie, but for Catherine, it was the most precious thing. Victor, honey! She rushed to him. Daddy, hello, Valerie sobbed. My girls, Victor whispered hoarsely. I thought I wouldn't see you again. Quiet, my dear, Catherine cried. You can't talk yet. Your vocal cords are weak. We came as soon as the doctor called. How? My God. Mommy, calm down. Everything is fine, Valerie supported her. Drink some water. For a while, they tried to talk, but Victor was weak, and the women were in shock. Valerie, I need to tell Mom something important. Leave us for a couple of minutes. Dad, are you serious? Valerie protested. We're a family. We don't have secrets. Okay, just kidding. I understand. You two want to be alone. I'll go get a chocolate from the machine for now. Valerie flitted out of the room. As soon as the door closed, Victor squeezed Catherine's hands tightly, painfully. Victor, be careful. You shouldn't strain yourself. Catherine, listen to me carefully. We have very little time. Her husband's voice suddenly became more confident and firm, the hoarseness almost gone. But most of all, his eyes frightened Catherine. They had become darker and shone unnaturally. Victor, honey, everything will be all right now. No, Catherine, don't fool yourself. It will be all right, but for Valerie. Don't say that, Catherine sobbed. Catherine, honey, don't interrupt, please. We have little time. I don't know how long I'll last. I saw something. I don't know how to explain it. I was in complete darkness. Then a light appeared, and some man in a suit. He seemed to be pulling me, talking. I can't explain how it was. Like a dream. But it wasn't a dream. I saw Eleanor. For some reason, she was binding me. Walter was nearby. They were taking me apart like a constructor set. And that man told me that it was them, trying to harm Valerie. Victor, why? Why all this? Because of the apartment? What about the apartment? What nonsense? Listen, I didn't tell you, but you know, our apartment came to me from my grandfather. To Walter, he's nobody. To Eleanor, he's a relative. Grandfather left everything to me. He had a bad relationship with Eleanor, but she couldn't get over not getting anything. And then I did something foolish. You and I hadn't met yet. I wrote a will in her favor. Why? Catherine protested. It's a long and difficult story to explain. I didn't think I'd have a family back then. Besides, I love my sister, even though she's difficult. We agreed, mostly as a joke, so she would calm down and we wouldn't ruin our relationship. I wrote that in case of my death, the apartment would go to her. That was almost 14 years ago. Then she got married, and everything was forgotten. I didn't even remember it myself, especially since you came into my life. But then something happened. I don't know what happened to Eleanor and how she decided to get rid of me. I tried to support her. What else could she want? It's hard to believe that for a few square meters, she's capable of destroying her own brother. I understand the apartment is worth more now. Grandfather wasn't poor. The apartment was from the factory. He was a manager after all. The apartment was fitting. If you sell it, you can buy a couple in new buildings and still have money left. Apparently greed kicked in. But it feels like someone put her up to it. And Walter fell under the influence. He had abilities since childhood. Mom took him to a witch. Neither Dad nor I took it seriously. But Eleanor was interested. Once I found them making dolls. Dad burned everything, got scared, strictly forbade such superstition. He was a believer. Everything was forgotten. And now Eleanor decided to bring Walter out of the shadows. I don't know what she did to him, how she persuaded him. But they started doing this. There's no other explanation. It was him, apparently, who was wandering around cemeteries. I don't know what he was doing there. And then I saw my sister's face. She looked like that. I woke up. I know I don't have long. I need to stop their plans. That's not all. Now I feel she'll turn on you and Valerie to eliminate competitors. A notary will be here soon. I'm transferring the apartment to you. Otherwise, she has the will, and she'll just kick you out. I need to protect you. That man from my vision, he can help. But I don't know where to find him. I know, Catherine replied softly. What? But how? How do you know him? Victor was surprised. Victor, I went to him. I know it's crazy, but Mom insisted. I was desperate. Do you understand? This man, his name is Arthur. He's a seer. The funny thing is, he's a physicist. I believed him. He described your sister and told me everything. You know yourself. I don't believe in magic and all that. I'm a pragmatist, but Arthur somehow convinced me. and the fact that you woke up is his doing. He was cleansing you. He said right away there wasn't much hope, but yes, my girl. It's too late to save me. Now you and Valerie need to take care of yourselves. Meet with Arthur. He'll tell you what to do. Victor, honey, I love you so much, Catherine cried. I don't want you to leave. Honey, I'll always be with you. Now I know that death isn't the end of everything. There are things we don't know about. But I'll always stay by your side. Let it be the soul, not the body. It doesn't matter. Victor grimaced. Dear, are you feeling bad? Catherine was scared. It's all right, he rasped. Call the doctor. Catherine rushed out of the room to find the staff. Dr. Michael Harrison, seeing her face, immediately hurried inside. Catherine sat with Valerie on the small sofa in the hallway. Soon the notary arrived. He was with Victor for a long time. When he came out, Catherine was allowed to enter. Victor lay motionless. The nurse had just put up an IV. Seeing Catherine and Valerie, Victor smiled weakly, but said nothing more. A nasty cold rain was drizzling. Catherine, silently swallowing tears, watched as clumps of damp earth fell with a dull thud onto the lid of the varnished dark brown coffin. She herself was the last to approach the grave. Holding Valerie's hand tightly, she scooped up a handful of earth with her half-paralyzed fingers and threw it down. Valerie did the same. Catherine remembered the rest poorly. How the coffin was buried, how they were led away, how they were put in a taxi. Her mother, Alice, was grateful. Honey, Alice said, go home. I'll manage here myself. There aren't many people. I'll come later. It's best you just go to sleep. You need to get through this. Here, take this. It's a sedative. Take the pills and go to bed. Mom, why weren't Eleanor and Walter at the funeral? Are they out of town? Or did something happen? Although, what could happen when their own brother died? I don't know, Catherine shuddered. She had tried calling Eleanor, but she didn't answer. Catherine went to her place, but no one opened the door. She couldn't find Walter either. It was unclear where they had disappeared to, and if they knew about Victor's death. I can't get in touch with them. I thought the hospital or acquaintances would inform them. I don't understand where they are. Essentially, they are Victor's closest relatives. Even his aunt came, although they hadn't seen each other in 5 years. But these two aren't here. I don't know, Mom. What happened? It's not right. And besides, we need to talk later about Eleanor and Walter. I have some unpleasant information. From Arthur, by the way. From Arthur? Alice's eyes lit up. You went to see him? Not just went. All right, I'll tell you everything later. Here's the taxi. Valerie looks awful. All right, honey, get some rest. Don't forget the pills. I'll come over in the evening. I have the keys. Okay, Mommy. Catherine hugged her mother tightly. Alice was bustling in the kitchen when Catherine woke up. She had given her a sedative and a sleeping pill, but Catherine hadn't slept well. She dreamed of Victor, the funeral, the hospital commotion, and for some reason, Victor's grandfather, whom Catherine had never met but knew it was him. Did you at least get some sleep? Alice looked at her worriedly. You and Valerie need to go somewhere while it's vacation. A change of scenery will help you get through the grief. You know, we accepted it while Victor was in a coma. But when he woke up, there was hope. Now I understand. Those half an hour were his last push to talk to us. I'm glad we made it. Otherwise, we would have blamed ourselves. Mom, I want to tell you everything that happened. Catherine told her at length how she decided to go to the psychic, what he said, how he appeared to Victor and helped him wake up. See? I told you you should go to him. Reliable people recommended him to me. They wouldn't deceive you. Arthur helped them greatly. It's a pity, of course, that it didn't work out earlier for Victor. But what's done is done. And his relatives, of course. A nightmare. How could they decide on such a thing? And there's no way to punish them. Arthur said karma always catches up with those who do evil. God will punish them, or energy according to the law of balance. As much evil is done, that much will return. But they should be punished by law. Mom, what law? They'd laugh at us, there's no proof. That's true. What am I afraid of? Victor said Eleanor won't stop. She'll want to harm you and Valerie. I want to consult with Arthur on how to protect ourselves. Do you think she'll dare? With Victor, she had a vested interest. The apartment. You said he managed to transfer everything to you, annul the old will. She must understand that in case of your, God forbid, death, she won't get anything anyway. You're not her relative. Nothing will pass by inheritance. And besides, does she even know that she won't get anything? Hardly. Victor didn't have time to tell her. Consider that she probably doesn't even know about his death. But I think she knows perfectly well. Walter must understand that his rituals worked. Although I have no idea how it works. But still, even if she knows and is waiting, what does that have to do with you? Her plan was to kick you out. And it's unclear, if I interpreted correctly. I don't know, Catherine shrugged. I can't just go to her and ask. I'll try to find out through Arthur. The next day, Catherine invited the psychic to her home. Valerie opened the door. Hello, the girl looked at him carefully. I imagined you differently. You look like a normal person. Come in, Mom is waiting. Hello, Valerie. To be honest, I also imagined you differently. In my mind, an 11-year-old girl is all ribbons and dolls. You're out of touch, Valerie smiled slightly. And when was that ever the case? At 11, a personality is formed. I can already write programs and develop applications. Someone even wants to buy one. Wow, Arthur whistled. A serious young lady. You are certainly far from this. Mathematics is not magic. But I don't believe in it, even though Mom was convinced. I think Dad waking up was a coincidence. You're wrong to think, Valerie, that I know nothing about mathematics. Mom probably didn't tell you, but I used to work as a lead engineer at a nuclear power plant. Physics and mathematics are my sisters. No way, the girl was surprised. But how did a physicist then go into pseudoscience? What is not proven does not mean false. I am not a magician, but simply enter into contact with the information field. How is that not physics? My predictions are pure mathematics, probabilities of events. Nothing supernatural. Whether to believe or not is your business. Now I need to discuss something with your mother. You know, I suppose I can accept that you're not deceiving us, especially since you don't ask for money. That's strange. Nowadays, no one would even spit for free. Money isn't the main thing, Valerie, however cliché it sounds. My gift isn't for profit. My education is for that. And what is given from above, I have no right to demand compensation for. Interesting, Valerie mused. All right, I won't keep you. Go to Mom. She's in the kitchen. Arthur went in the direction indicated. Catherine was setting the table. Hello, come in. We've prepared a little something. Help yourselves. Please sit down. Let's have a bite and talk. You can start telling me, if it's not difficult. I don't like eating in silence, and small talk is inappropriate right now. Yes, of course, Catherine smiled. So the situation is this. Before he died, Victor said he communicated with you there, in the astral plane. It's not the astral plane. Don't confuse them, Arthur corrected. In short, in your reality. There he saw that Eleanor intends to harm Valerie and me. I don't know if you're aware of the will, but Victor managed to re-register the apartment, which Eleanor is claiming, to me. Is that the apartment? Arthur nodded. Yes. It came to my husband from his grandfather, and he foolishly made a will in his sister's favor to smooth things over. Now it's annulled. I'm afraid Eleanor will seek revenge or try to get rid of us to become the sole heir. Yes, that woman is capable of anything. It's good you told me. I can't completely neutralize her without personal contact. And she's not acting alone. We need to stop Walter. And they've both disappeared somewhere. They weren't even at the funeral. Yes, I have a feeling they're planning something. I know I'm probably overthinking, but the sense of danger won't leave me. Catherine, I can put a protection on you and your daughter. A shield against their attacks. Formally. A cocoon of dense energy. You won't feel it. The only thing is, during the installation, you need to completely clear your mind so I can connect to your energy points and fix it. There won't be problems with you. But Valerie? She's skeptical. That might interfere. Talk to your daughter. I can't put the protection without her consent. Yes, of course. When can we do it? Right now. Let me call Valerie. We'll explain together. It's easier that way. You see, I told her. She reacted. It's hard for her to believe in such things. We'll try to convince her, Arthur smiled. Valerie, Catherine called. Come here. What is it? The girl's worried face appeared in the doorway. Valerie, honey, sit down. We need to discuss something, her mother called gently. I'm listening. Valerie sat down, crossing her arms. Honey, I know what I'm about to say will cause indignation, but as a sign of respect, love for me, and in memory of Dad, please take my words seriously. Okay, I'll try, the girl winced. In short, the situation with Dad is the work of your Aunt Eleanor. She used magical influence on him, causing the illness. The reason is trivial. Money, specifically our apartment. Dad once made a will in her favor, so she decided to act radically. She doesn't know that he transferred the apartment to us, but Dad warned me before he died that you and I are now in danger. She won't stop and might start seeking revenge. Seriously? Valerie was horrified. I always couldn't stand her, that nasty aunt. And Dad always helped her. I knew it was her doing something. Valerie burst into tears. Catherine didn't expect such a reaction. Mom, the girl sobbed. So it's true? And Auntie is a witch? No, honey. Aunt Eleanor isn't a witch. But your Uncle Walter has abilities, and she took advantage of that. Uncle Walter too? But that's impossible. He loved Dad so much, and he's a good person. Valerie, Arthur intervened, there are such people. They are good and don't wish harm. But they are easily influenced. Your uncle is being masterfully manipulated, using his abilities for evil. He's like under hypnosis. Blaming him is pointless. But I would be wary of your aunt. She wants to kill us too? Valerie recoiled in horror. It's hard to say for now. I can't judge her intentions. Arthur shook his head. I'm not all-powerful. I can't see from a distance. To understand her plan, I need personal contact. I don't want her to come here. She won't, her mother reassured her. Eleanor and Walter have disappeared. You noticed, they weren't even at the funeral. Maybe they've already punished themselves and had an accident? Valerie, you can't say that, Catherine said strictly. Wishing evil brings it upon yourself. Their fate will catch up with them. But for now, we need to make sure they don't harm us. But can anything be done? Valerie became serious. Look what they did to Dad. And Auntie smiled calmly, knowing he was dying because of her. I can protect you, Arthur said. I'll put a shield on you and your mother that Eleanor won't be able to penetrate. But you must believe with all your heart, accept it. Otherwise it won't work. Valerie, you're interested in programming. What I'm doing with your energy is also programming. I'm rewriting the factory settings. Protection is like an antivirus. It catches Auntie's attacks, deletes them, quarantines them, or sends them back. Then, when it's all over, I'll remove it. Do you understand? Uh-huh, the girl nodded. Then let's start now. Otherwise, we'll lose time, which will work against us. Who knows? Maybe Eleanor has already started. For 2 hours, Arthur performed manipulations. Catherine and Valerie were required to sit and immerse themselves in a meditative state. When it was all finished, he woke them up. Well, girls, I finished the work. Now you don't need to be afraid. But as soon as Eleanor shows up, let me know. Thank you, Arthur, Catherine smiled. I believe you. I hope it helps. Maybe I should pay after all? Catherine, you've paid in full. I haven't had such a delicious lunch in years. Arthur smiled and walked towards the exit. After he left, mother and daughter discussed what had happened for a long time. Just under a month had passed since Victor's death. Catherine was gradually getting used to the idea that he was gone. She remembered his words, that he would always be by her side. That made it easier. Valerie was also recovering. School was 2 weeks away. She was getting ready, going with her grandmother to buy notebooks, met up with friends, communication with whom had been limited due to her father's illness. That day, Valerie returned from her grandmother's in a good mood. She boasted about a new tracksuit Alice had bought her. Trying on the new outfit in front of the mirror, she twirled around. Suddenly, she turned sharply pale and clutched her temples. Valerie, what is it? Catherine grew worried. My head is spinning a bit, her daughter replied. It's very stuffy these last hot days, and you put on a tracksuit. Let me pour you some lemonade, her mother suggested. Take off your beautiful outfit and come to the kitchen. We'll sit on the balcony. The weather is wonderful. Catherine went to the kitchen, got out glasses, a pitcher of lemonade. She dropped in ice, poured it, and took it out to the balcony. She sat down in an armchair, relaxing in the August sun. Summer will end soon, she thought. It's been a tough one. How will we manage without Victor now? Valerie is growing fast. My salary won't be enough soon. Should she earn money herself with applications? I heard they pay well in that field. Teenagers are involved. But that's a hobby. I need to do something about work. I won't sell the apartment. Everything of Victor's is here. It would be betraying his memory. Mom won't let us go under. But in my situation, should I ask for a promotion? Mr. Johnson is retiring. He trained me. Can I handle it? You won't know until you try. Where is Valerie? The lemonade will get warm. Valerie, Catherine called. Where are you? The ice has melted. Her daughter didn't answer. A chill ran down Catherine's chest. She came out of the balcony, remembering how Valerie had turned pale. Valerie was lying near the mirror, still in her tracksuit. Catherine rushed to her and pulled her hand back after touching her. The girl was unconscious, hot as a furnace. My God, Valerie, wake up! Catherine slapped her cheeks. She was wheezing. Her mother called an ambulance, ran for a cold compress. The cold brought her to consciousness. She opened her eyes slightly, mumbled something unintelligible. Catherine dragged her to the bed, took off her jacket. Valerie was red, sweating. The ambulance arrived quickly. The doctor gave her an injection. Valerie regained consciousness after a couple of minutes. Mom, she mumbled, everything is fine. Honey, Catherine stroked her damp hair. How scared I was. Most likely she overheated, the doctor frowned. Shall we go to the hospital? No, Valerie whispered. Just not the hospital. Catherine understood that the hospital brought back painful associations for her daughter. She just looked at the doctor questioningly. You can sign a refusal for hospitalization. I'll prescribe some medication if her temperature rises. If it goes higher, call immediately. Okay, understood, Catherine nodded. Her temperature rose again, but didn't exceed the threshold, and Catherine wasn't in a hurry to call an ambulance. Valerie lay in bed, having taken the pills. Her mother changed the compresses every 10 minutes. "It's the air conditioner. We sat under it yesterday. I have a runny nose, and you got sick." "It's nothing. It will pass. I need to sleep. My head hurts," Valerie said quietly. "It was like this when I had the flu. But that was in winter." "Don't worry. It's not the flu. You just caught a chill. The infection is coming out. The medicine will help." The doorbell rang. "Who is it so late?" Catherine was surprised. "It's 9 in the evening." "Maybe Grandma?" Valerie looked questioningly. "She shouldn't be. She has keys. She wouldn't ring. You lie down, rest. I'll go see." Catherine left the bedroom and went to the door. She looked through the peephole and recoiled. Eleanor and Walter were standing there. After hesitating, Catherine took a deep breath and opened the door. "Catherine! Well, look at you! We thought no one was home," Eleanor exclaimed, throwing up her hands. "Where were you?" Catherine immediately attacked. "Do you know Victor is gone? I've been looking for you for a month. No one knows anything. Your phones are off." "Catherine, I'll explain everything." Eleanor pushed her aside with her shoulder and walked in. Silent Walter shuffled in behind her. He looked like her shadow. Catherine felt uneasy. She didn't want to let them in, but she couldn't resist the pressure. Eleanor walked into the living room as if she owned the place, sinking noisily onto the sofa. Walter stood beside her, looking down. "I'll be right back," Catherine said, her eyes flashing. "Valerie isn't feeling well." She thought she heard Eleanor give a satisfied grunt. Catherine quickly returned to the bedroom. "Valerie, don't get up. Victor's sister and brother are here," she whispered. "I'll call Arthur now. I'm afraid to stay with them, but I'm even more afraid for you. Lock yourself in from the inside. That woman mustn't see you like this. She might take advantage." Catherine typed a message to Arthur, explaining about the guests. He immediately replied, telling her not to let them leave and promising to come. Catherine confirmed and went out. "Oh, so Valerie won't come out to say hello? We haven't seen her in a long time," Eleanor said ominously. "Valerie isn't feeling well, another time," Catherine replied sharply. "You'd better explain what's going on. Where have you been?" "We haven't been anywhere," Eleanor laughed. "We were at home. Right, Walter?" The man nodded silently. Catherine was taken aback. "What do you mean at home? Why didn't you answer? Why didn't you come to the funeral? Victor died, your own brother, and you were sitting at home?" "It's our business whether we come to a funeral or not. But it's your business to quickly pack your things and leave this apartment with your sick daughter." Here it is, the thought flashed. It started. I hope Arthur comes soon. I'm scared. "What do you mean?" Catherine pretended to be surprised. "Why would I leave my apartment?" "Because of this." Eleanor held out a thin folder with documents. Catherine glanced at it quickly and calmly placed it on the table. "Firstly," she began coolly, realizing her moment had arrived. "As far as I know, a will comes into effect 6 months after death, so you have no right to live here until you officially become the owner." "You're reacting strangely," Eleanor tensed. "Aren't you surprised that I brought the will? That you're losing your home? All right, legally you're right. I'll wait. Although..." "But since there was a firstly, there will be a secondly," Catherine continued just as coolly, ignoring her, enunciating clearly. "Secondly, this piece of paper hasn't had legal force for over a month. Before coming here and waving it around, you should have bothered to find out who the current owner is." "What are you talking about?" Eleanor jumped up. "Why is it invalid? Victor has been unconscious for the last few months. I checked in June. Thirdly, Catherine cut her off, Victor regained consciousness. If you had been interested, you would have known. That's when the notary visited him, and the will was rewritten. So you have no rights here. Not now, not in 5 months. Catherine stood up and pointed to the door. Oh yes, fourthly, she smirked. I know everything. I know that my husband's death is your doing. I can't prove it, but I don't need to. Karma will catch up with you. Degenerates. To drive your own brother to the grave for brick walls. Oh, really? Eleanor bristled. So that's it. You were right, Walter. This woman suspected. Good thing we covered our backs. What are you talking about? Catherine turned pale. I'm giving you a condition. Right now, we go to the notary, and you sign a deed of gift to me. Yeah, right. As soon as I tie my shoelaces, Catherine scoffed. Your choice, Eleanor rolled her eyes. Walter, go. The man took a small bag from his satchel and reached inside. Almost immediately, loud sounds came from Valerie's room. I'll be right there. Catherine rushed towards the door. Not so fast, Eleanor grabbed her. You won't help. If you resist, Valerie will burn from the inside. Do you know what we're capable of? My niece is in Walter's hands. Get ready. We're going to the notary. A waiver of inheritance, a power of attorney, anything, but you'll give up the apartment, understood? Otherwise, you'll lose your daughter. No one is losing anyone, Arthur's voice was heard. And who are you? Eleanor looked at him maliciously. The one who will make you pay for Dad's death. A completely healthy Valerie peeked out from behind Arthur's back. What's happening? Walter, why isn't it working? Eleanor shrieked. Walter reached into the bag again, and Valerie let out a long sound. Catherine flinched, but then immediately heard her daughter's laughter. It won't work, she shouted at her aunt. You messed with the wrong people. Mom, kick them out. They can't do anything to us anymore. But, Catherine was confused. Leave the apartment, otherwise I'll call the police. You'll have to explain where you got the remains, Arthur said sternly. What? What remains? Catherine asked, not understanding. Accumulated from cemeteries. You could face charges. I'm asking nicely, leave. You'll regret this, Eleanor hissed, heading for the exit. Walter obediently shuffled behind her. You won't have time, Arthur laughed. Retribution will catch up with you sooner. Do you think you can control destinies? I saw how it will end for you. Go, you'll find out yourselves soon. When the uninvited guests left and Catherine locked the door, she demanded an explanation. I arrived almost immediately. Don't ask how so fast. You wouldn't believe me. Arthur smiled, patting Valerie. You were lucky you didn't lock the door. I came in, heard noise from your room. I felt their energy. Went to Valerie. The girl didn't believe completely. They managed to partially break through the shield. It's good you called. Otherwise, there would have been trouble. But I removed everything, and they won't bother you anymore. But how can I be sure? Catherine asked. Eleanor looked very angry. She'll find a way to get what she wants. She won't have time. Why? Catherine frowned. You'll find out everything from the news tomorrow, Arthur smiled mysteriously. And now, forgive me. I need to sleep. I'm going home. To recover after such work. Nice meeting you, even under these circumstances. Farewell. Arthur stood up and left.